Alrighty, I'm going to answer the question for you, how to braise Belgium endive, which is probably not a question that you had on the tip of your tongue prior to seeing this DVD. But this is one of the classic ways that endive, Belgium endive, is prepared. It's very French by nature, the preparation that we're going to do today. And it will give you an idea of a way in which you can handle endive. I'm also going to give you a couple of other ideas. Now, don't confuse Belgium endive, which is what this is, with curly endive, which is like a lettucey type vegetable. Okay? This is Belgium endive that originates in Belgium, and it is also now grown in the United States also. But most of the Belgium endive that you see, wherever it's grown, it's called Belgium endive. If they grow it in Idaho, it's still Belgium endive. So wherever you see it, that's probably where it's from as a rule. Okay? Now, what we're basically going to do here is we're going to saute a little bit of onion, and we're going to wrap up the endives in bacon. I got a few of them done already. And we're going to cook them slowly in a small stovetop or oven braising pan. Now, what does braising mean? Let's just cover that real quick. Braising means cooking slowly, typically, with wet heat. And in the case of the braised Belgium endive, we're going to come up with a braising liquid when we're done. All right, I'm going to answer the question for you today, how to braise Belgium endive. Probably not a question that you had on the tip of your tongue, but you're going to learn a little bit about braising vegetables in this particular demonstration, okay? Belgium endive, which comes from Belgium, and this is a Belgium endive right here. It's a bulb that has many spears, and I'm going to show you what's inside. We're going to cut a raw one open, and I'll talk to you about a couple of other uses that the Belgium endive has in the cooking world. The recipe we're going to do today, braised Belgium endive. What does braised mean? Braised means cook slowly with wet heat. Now, in most cases when things are braised, there's what you might call a residual braising liquid that's left over after whatever food is being braised is cooked. And that braising liquid is typically used to make sauce for the item that was braised. That's a very classic viewpoint of braising, no matter what it is. Braised duck, braised lamb shank, braised endive, braised fennel, whatever the item is that you may be braising. So I'm going to start out by just showing you the inside of a Belgium endive. And Richard, if you come down to this endive right here, I will show you two things. First, when you cut the end off, that opens up the endive so that you can take these, what I would call spears, off of the endive, okay? Now, a lot of times, and come back up to me now, a lot of times when people are serving hors d'oeuvres, you'll find multiple recipes where an individual spear of endive is filled with food, and then this is used like as an hors d'oeuvre. It's a boat, if you will, to hold something else. A lot of people will put little goat cheese and Parma ham or little fresh sliced tomato with this, that, and the other thing inside the Belgium endive spear. That's one use. It's also used and tossed in a salad with vinaigrette or whatever dressing you happen to be using. And sometimes it's just used for decoration around salads, and it's not really mixed into the salad. That's not as common, of course. And then the salads and using the endive as an hors d'oeuvre would probably be the two largest uses, salads being the first use of Belgium endive and the most common of all the uses of the Belgium endive. The braised Belgium endive, now there are some properties to the endive, and there's a reason why this dish was even developed, braised Belgium endive. This is a bitter winter type vegetable. It's not bitter, like totally inedible. You can eat it raw or cooked. But when you cook it hot, like we're going to do when we make this braised Belgium endive dish, we're going to incorporate a lot of other flavors that are going to offset the bitterness of the endive. And one that, in such a way that some people that may not normally enjoy this type of vegetable because they're not used to it, Europeans grew up on this, and they're used to bitter vegetables mixed in with different things in their eating and cooking. but you'll understand if you reproduce this recipe yourself what the advantages are in incorporating some other flavors: cheese, cream, stock, onions, garlic, bacon, which are all the things that are going to be in this dish today. Okay. Now, if you come back down to the cutting board here, Richard, I want to show the people what the endive looks like that. See, it's very pretty, and ultimately we are going to end up cutting our endives like this after they're cooked and putting sauce and Parmesan cheese and gratining the top of them when we're done. So I'm going to move right along to preparing this dish for you now. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to slice some onion and cook it in a little bit of butter in a saute / braising pan. So what I mean by that is this is a pan that you can saute in and braise in, okay? It's just designed like that. And here is the look of that kind of pan. It has some depth, so you can put some stock in it and cover it up, put it in the oven, etc., okay? Now we're going to put a little bit of butter in the pan here. I got some melted, whole, unsalted butter here that we're working with. And we're going to take a little bit of onion, slice it up. Come on down here, Richard. Remember, when we're slicing the onion, we're slicing it from stem to stem, not from side to side in little half rings and so on, okay? And we're going to add the onion to the butter. And I give it just a pinch more onion. So I got about 3/4 of a medium-sized Spanish onion here. And we're going to put a little bit of pepper and a little bit of salt, being careful and understanding that we are braising endive and we are making a braising liquid. Being careful not to put too much salt and pepper in it, because as we reduce the chicken stock, which is what we're going to use as the braising liquid, later we may concentrate the level of salt beyond what we want it to be. So we want to hold off on the salt a little bit until we're finishing the braising liquid later. So we're just going to put a little bit in at this point. Okay? And I'm going to add a little bit of sage and a little bit of fresh thyme and a little bit of tarragon to this recipe, okay? The thyme, which has just an unbelievably fragrant. If you can come on down here on the herbs for me, Richard. We're going to pick all the little flowers off of the thyme. You can use dried leaf thyme or fresh thyme for this particular preparation. And I'm not going to chop the thyme. I'm just going to add it right in here, because the length of time that it's going to cook, it doesn't matter whether it's chopped, because it's not being used in a quickly prepared dish. It's going to have plenty of time to get whatever flavor and aroma that thyme has to offer over the course of the cooking time. Okay? And I've got some fresh tarragon here. And we're going to pull the green leaves off of the little branches also in the case of the tarragon. Tarragon, of course, is a little bit easier to clean than thyme. Thyme tends to be more branches than little herbs. Tarragon we'll chop just a little bit because these are fairly large. We'll throw them there in the onions. And we got a little bit of fresh sage here. We're going to take some sage leaves and we're going to cut them up. And we're going to throw them right in there with the onions. And as you can see, pan on down here, Richard, we got some onion, sauteed with some fresh thyme, a little bit of salt and pepper, some sage, and some tarragon. Now, I have a couple of endives that are what they call red endives also. It's basically the same endive, and it's a hybrid of the basic white and light lime green Belgium endive. Okay? This is another version of Belgium endive. Another way of selling it to you, really, and has a different color, and it works in different ways, mainly because of the color. The flavor is exactly the same, okay, as the white one. So